speaking about your blogging career, how it started, and most importantly, why did you decide that that is a good time sync for you? That you decide that okay, I will be investing my free time or maybe my work time into putting together technical articles. What was on your mind when you decided doing this?
In a way, it just happened organically. It was a continuation of this story because I ended up at Booking.com. It was a great place to be. Quite an impressive technological footprint, lots of services, like thousands of services, lots of load. In the service where I ended up as an SRE, we had like 115,000 requests a second. So like a single mistake could lead to like disastrous consequences. But at the same time, I wanted to be dealing with cloud native tech. And this service was written in Perl, and it was like operated on like on a whole bunch of bare metal servers. Metrics would be sent to Graphite, like all this traditional old style tech. And it was super cool. I was learning a lot about these things, but I always felt like slightly dissatisfied. So I started digging into, I wanted to be dealing with, Kubernetes, containers, Docker. I don't really know why, just you cannot explain this.
Mhm.
So I started, and at the same time at work, I wouldn't be actually developing in this direction. So I started digging into, Docker first, various container runtimes, Kubernetes sometimes, and I'm a developer. Yeah, I'm spending a lot of time dealing with infrastructure, but in my heart, I'm a developer. So when I'm digging into something, I'm actually going straight to the code base and actually checking stuff, how they are implemented, how I would implement them. And somehow naturally I felt like if I dug into it, if I learned something interesting, why not to blog about it? So I would go and just in a way document my findings, not in a boring format, but I was always trying to make a little story out of my findings. In a way, it's a unique perspective when you approach something without knowing things, and then you learn something, and then you're in this unique position when you still remember how it felt not knowing this particular topic and what were your main struggles on the way to actually learning these things. And I just tried, blogging
Kirill
about
and
it.
I, we have a history of dealing with people who are into education and technical blogging and like to putting their knowledge into something helpful for other people. And I've been talking a lot to them. And when we discuss why you are doing this, such things, or why you're writing it, why you are teaching or mentoring, a lot of them were answering something like that. Being able to teach helps them learn better. Do you think this is the case for you and Kirill as a person who wrote hundreds of educational and technical articles? Do you think, guys, that this idea, this notion is true, that this helps you to understand things better? Or is it more like you do this for, I don't know, for fame? Like when when I know how it works for me, sometimes when I know that I know something that somebody else doesn't know, I like to put it on the web and share this knowledge, and I get some kind of, I don't know, guilty pleasure knowing that people like this post, they comment, and I don't think that I learn from it, but I feel like I feel satisfied. How it works in your case, guys?
I mean, I would not say it's like a scientific fact, but I would think it's like should be common knowledge that writing is one of the best ways to learn. Actually, there's an excellent book from William Zinsner called "Writing to Learn," and this guy is like he wrote lots of books about how to write. And the whole point is not even for technical content. Even if you just try to, what happens to me with some customers, that I try to summarize some of the meetings after discussing some planning, and you start writing it down and figure out lots of details that you did not discuss. And the whole plan just starts to crystallize when you just write it like in a Slack message and figure out, okay, we actually didn't discuss this and this. And for technical content, for me, it's always the same. It's often that I think I know something till I start writing about it. Like we
Mm.
have a series of articles on virtualization and networking that I wrote like many years ago now. I think it's like they probably partially updated. And as such, okay, I'll tell people about how virtualization works. And then I start writing an article and I end up spending like days just researching and reading to be able to put like few sentences describing how exactly it works and why it works the way it is. And same for networking and all the content I like ever wrote.
Exactly as Kirill said. I cannot say it was my original motivation to blog about anything. It was more like a realization while blogging. Probably in a way, the most surprising realization was that you don't really know how much you don't know about the topic until you start explaining it. Sometimes you think like, hey, I know, Docker images. What can I possibly not know about this topic? I tried building so many of them. I tried debugging so many of them. And then you start blogging and then like, hey, there is actually a difference between a manifest and a manifest list. Well, let's dig into it. And then when you are done with your article, you're like twice more knowledgeable about the topic. But it wasn't in any way my primary or even secondary motivation to write. Like, I think there was no reasonable motivation to write for me at all. It was more at the beginning. It was more just some innate desire to share information. I would learn something and then I see other people may benefit from it and I would go and write. But yes, writing is a tool for thought. That's absolutely true. And it helps thinking things through like, to the much greater degree.
Yeah. Okay, so you wrote a post or two, and then you realized that it's a good activity to start a career around. How did you came to this idea? Because there are a lot of people. Many of those are listening to us right now. They create posts, they try to put together their thoughts, and they share it on Medium or YouTube or whatever. At what point we can realize that, and how we can realize that, okay, people like my content and I should invest more time in it. I should maybe try to monetize this. How did you realize that this is the path for you?
That's a great question. I cannot really. Well, I don't think it was that obvious and that quick. It took me several years before I started thinking about any monetization of this activity. I think I started actively blogging back in like summer 2019, and it was pretty quick until I hit Hacker News page. It was probably my third post or something.
Did you post there specifically, like trying to drive attention to the post, or that it happened organically? Like, were you promoting?
I think I posted that it happens like in all sorts of ways. Sometimes you write something and it does not really become popular or noticeable from day one. Happens. And then someone else would discover it and publish somewhere. I think it happened to my post about container networking. That's probably one of the most advanced and polished tutorials on how to recreate Docker bridge network from scratch using only the basic Linux commands. And I wrote it originally, well, probably in 2021 or something. And I spent a month like a full month, tens of hours researching the topic and then writing it down. It was like 5,000 word article with a whole bunch of commands to try out and so on. And then I posted it and it was like hundreds of visits. Like almost no one noticed it because probably the topic was too niche and it didn't sound, I know, as hot as something like, hey, you can build your Docker image, which will be 10 times smaller than your normal image. And then, well, it was a waste from one standpoint, but on the other hand, I learned a lot while doing that, so I wasn't too disappointed. And then in a month or two after this initial release, someone discovered it and posted it on Hacker News. And what often happens when your post becomes successful on Hacker News, someone else goes and posts on Reddit. And if you are lucky and your post ends up being in Reddit programming subreddit top for a few hours at least, it will be likely more traffic than from Hacker News even. So this single article generated like several months of visits in a day or two, just because someone rediscovered it. Yeah, so happens in all sorts of ways. Sometimes there is like some prominent Twitter account would repost my stuff and things like that. But initially, when I just started and I had like 3 blog posts on my blog and no one really knew about it, or anything, I would just, I think, go to Hacker News and Reddit and post it. And because it was a personal blog and clearly from like a beginner, people would not really object me doing that, because if I do it right now, most of the time I would become banned pretty quickly, because it's already like a well-established blog. On my labs there is even a premium tier, and when things like that are shared, especially by the author on Reddit, like quickly get downvoted, regardless of the quality of the content. But back in 2019, it was like just a beginner's blog, and sharing it on Twitter, or not on Twitter, on Reddit and Hacker News actually helped me like really a lot, attracting initial audience.
Yeah, so as you can expect, there is no magic trick that will make you famous overnight. It happens to us, all of us, when your post suddenly goes viral, and suddenly you're famous. Because
Well, I wouldn't call it famous, but
yeah, but I was just thinking about, I read a lot of articles like how to promote your blog, how to create an engaging post that will attract a lot of likes, attention, whatever. And even if you try to follow these steps, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will succeed just by thoroughly recreating what the article says to you. And the reality is, you never know when this might happen. Like you described, someone shares, and this someone happens to have a lot of followers, and suddenly you drive a lot of attention to your post. But I would like to switch to more difficult topic, and I want you, Pablo, Kirill, to share your experience first with that, and after that we will ask Ivan about his, because Ivan, we can learn a thing or two from you, given how the scope of your audience, the size of it. And I'm asking about choosing the topics for your technical blogging. I know a lot of people struggling about it, like what I should write about, or what would be my next video about. Pablo, Kirill, I know this is a thing for you. Let's share like your opinion and how you go through the process, and then we will compare it how Ivan does it.
In my case, I am not talking about the writing because I am not as good as Ivan or Kirill,
Yeah, but
about videos,
create
that
good
is
videos.
exactly that. This is what I used to do. For me, this is really, choose the topic is one of the most problematic things, because in my opinion, all of us will love when the people watch our videos or read our articles, for sure. So at least to me, is this little ego that all of us we have, that that is telling, okay, imagine 100 views, 1,000, 10,000, you're, as much as I have, at least for me, the ego increase and go up and up and up and up. So then always you try to find and to choose the best subject. But it's a problem because in our case, for example, everything that we do is a niche, and it's something that there are few people watching those videos. When I mean few people, is not like 1 million of views or 10 million of views. It's not like that. Okay, at least in our case. And it's hard because normally what you like to do is not what everyone likes. So, and many times when I made a video about something that I like, nobody watched. But many times when you made something like a 5 minute video about something that, really you don't care, and let's do this video because I have to do something and I don't know what to do. And for example, I ask Kirill, what I have to do? Talk about that. And then you have a hit and you say, man, why that? What happened with the algorithm? It's like the video that you made the other day, Leo, that it was a hit. What happened with the algorithm? I have no idea. But for me, it's hard always. It's the biggest topic.
Kirill, you?
I mean, I can relate so much to this. Like when you just start writing articles and you have a personal blog and you start distributing it, everyone is okay with this. You write good articles and people come and is fine with you sharing that. Okay, I wrote this article. And then once you get to a certain point, and for me it was interesting to hear that, Ivan, you also have this issue, because still it's kind of what you do is one-to-one relationship to your person. For us, it became even harder because now it's kind of content is behind MKDev brand, and it's impossible to distribute content. You go on Reddit, like, hey, this is this article about how we used AI, like GPT Vision, to generate description of images. It's like, fuck you, you're trying to promote your company. Like, it's just an article. Like, and they even ban you. They don't even allow to distribute. But about topics, I think the metric that it becomes super popular is not really that important, to be honest, because in our case, the content all of us create, we do not target to become like, to reach Taylor Swift levels of popularity. So, for example, in case of
Why
of
not?
you, Ivan, and then like you need to know your audience, right? So in case of Ivan, like you create excellent content on containers and around the also virtualization, network, etc. And whenever someone searches for these topics, they will find your articles. So the right people who are interested in these topics, they will discover you in any case. And it's the same for us. So we have service mesh content. It's not the most popular content we ever created, but whoever is interested in learning about service mesh, they will find MKDev videos on this topic about our evaluation, different tools and articles. But the way I pick topics, it's basically what I want to write about, which is not the best way. We also had the cases like you invest lots of time in an article and then it just no one cares. The way I comfort myself in this case that it's just the article is not for everyone, so it was never meant to create big lots of views. The most popular article on MKDev website is still to this date is when some CEO, semi-developer, semi-SEO guy wrote like 400 words about how to write a Python script and run it on Windows. That's the most popular article on mkdev.me. Like nothing can beat it, no matter how much content you write. And it's probably because the author of this article just picked the right keywords and researched that, okay, this will be popular in the search engines, but it's also not necessarily the content I would personally want to create. I can create an article how to write a Ruby script, but it will be boring for me, and it will probably also attract the wrong audience, because yes, you will get lots of people who never run a simple script on their machines, and it will be maybe like 100,000 views per month. But for us, it's important to get senior professionals, and there are like way less of them than beginner developers. And then if we scope down to our current topics, it would be maybe senior professionals who also like CTO or tech lead level who would be interested eventually to check out our offerings. And currently try to find the topics that would match this kind of audience, even if they don't explode on Twitter, X, etc.